The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has criticized the proposed 27 trillion naira budget presented to the National Assembly by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The president had presented the appropriation bill before the joint sitting of the National Assembly on Wednesday. Reacting to the proposed budget, the opposition parties said if the appropriation bill is passed by the National Assembly, it will further accelerate Nigerians and plunge the nation into more economic depression and hopelessness. The party claimed the budget is completely devoid of concrete mechanism to revive the economy, adding that it is filled with padded figures and duplicated items. Jide, this one caught my attention. It is filled with padded figures and duplicated items.
Until you see the breakdown of the budget, you cannot determine that it's already padded. What you have largely just estimates the real elephant in the room is in the breakdown. You break it down segment by segment, all of the
recurrent capital,
all of the subheads. Look at what you have. I think for an opposition party, they are doing their job. They must be seen to be active.
Yes.
I even think that they are not active.
I'm telling you, Mr. Olugunagba has been very quiet.
They are not even active.
Taking the long. I've not heard from Mr. Olugunagba.
They are not active enough. Frankly, they need to do a lot more. But what we want is for them to be constructive. The government is not perfect, and it is clear that some of the modules that the government is adopting are not currently working. So I'm not going to sit here and say, they don't deserve to say some of these things. But try your best to make sense.
Yeah.
Try your best to make sense. Because it is when you make sense that people going forward will take you seriously.
Criticize constructively.
You know, Lai Mohammed, at that time, when he issues a statement, it was an editor's delight. Not only will the statement come in good English, a lot of the lazy editors will simply remove his headline and the conclusion and just pass it. You know, because
the way it has been crafted.
Yes, well written, like as if it's a journalist, a proper journalist who was writing those things. I didn't know who was writing, whether it was Baba himself, but it was always written in the language that a journalist will fall in love with. And APC kept the PDP on its toes. Even when it was necessary, they lied against the PDP. Yes. Abi? Remember the matter of the so-called missing oil money. We first heard that it was 58 billion, 50-something billion, before the CBN governor of the time and Konjo Iweala had this eyeball-to-eyeball exchange in the National Assembly. And some days after, we heard that it had been scaled down to 20 billion, all the way from more than 50 billion, you know? So these things happen. The opposition party wants to gain advantage. But I don't think that Tinubu will sit down and design a budget meant to asphyxiate Nigerians. You want to lead the people, and you want to also give yourself immortality, because when things begin to change for the better, Tinubu will claim credit. It's not the kind of person who will allow maybe a minister to appropriate all the credit. He's going to claim credit. The bulk of the insults go in his direction. So when it's time to take credit, it's not going to be found wanting. It will be right there in the thick of things. So he wants to serve, and he wants to do well. He wants to succeed. I don't think a president will set out coming up with a budget that is meant to asphyxiate the people. No. So that's what they said. And then they also said that Tinubu used the phrase "ordinary people out there." they are condemning him, that it means that he does not respect Nigerians by saying the ordinary people out there. Come on. Come on. When you say the ordinary people, you are talking about the masses.
Yes.
The masses.
We are the masses.
The most vulnerable.
Yes. The talakawas.
You just look at the meaning of ordinary. It doesn't diminish people. It's just one way of describing the lowly in our society. Even the Bible already talks about the fact that there will be poor in our midst. We can't do anything about it. There will be lowly people. There will be highly rated people.
The hoi polloi.
There will be people who are of the rarefied class. There will be people that you call the Lazarus stratum of society, the poorest of the poor. What are we talking about? If someone says that, sometimes these politicians just make me laugh. If someone uses...
That's the best criticism you can get.
Because I read, I cannot find it. Okay, beyond saying that it's padded.
As ordinarily...
You've not explained how the budget will actually lead to the asphyxiation of our people. You need to show that so that I can be worried.
More intelligently, yes.
Yes,
Give us more information.
Show us how the budget. You can dismiss the budget on many grounds, but make sure that you are making sense. You can't criticize a man for saying that, okay, we have to do our best for the ordinary people out there. The ordinary people are the most vulnerable. Yep. They are the masses. It's another way of describing the masses. But at the end of the day, at least we've seen improvement in some areas. When you compare it to the budget before it, you can see that there is no doubt education, they want to give their attention to education, and you can see that even the what's it called, the students' loan is going to take 50 billion, which is significant. And of course, defense too, because there's insecurity and we have to defeat insecurity.
Mr. Lugwangwa, we need to contact Alhaji Lai Mohammed for
refresher course.
Yes, for this kind of thing.
Well, I think the PDP is the opposition political party. And it deserves the right to even tear into pieces the policies and programs of the ruling party for their own interest. However, I think, even though we accept that millions of Nigerians, probably due to a lack of access to education, what to read on the internet, a lot of people, sorry to say, people think deeply, but there are also people that don't think deeply, that will just buy whatever you say. But I think they should be concerned about the conscious Nigerian audience who occupy very critical positions, who are influencers. That you should not shoot before thinking of the target. If you say a budget is bad, we want you to convince us how that budget becomes. We want an informed opinion. I would have expected a truly opposition party that is driven by national interest to first of all wait. This budget is just less than 24 hours. You have come with a hasty position that condemns the old document. If in the days of AWO, even what APC used to do, they will first of all assemble a team of economists. It may take about 1 week. Then you now call them, in the days of AWO, people like Professor Aluko. They will now, by the time they are presenting their position, you will see a superior alternative.
Yes.
Figure by figure, matched with proportional response to every item that has been presented by the opposition. That is knowledge, driven by ideas, driven by patience and critical thinking. But you have a situation where the PDP just makes general statement, So you are underestimating our knowledge, our intelligence. So when you just write off a budget like that, don't forget that when we are talking about national budget, it affects 36 states. Now we are talking about education. There is increment of 101%. PDP didn't see that. Health, increase of 23%. And there we are targeting revenue of 18.32 trillion, which has never happened. We are talking about investment, environment, optimization, human capital development, poverty, and social development. I expected the PDP to take these items, to be patient, not just to look at the document and even write the statement before even looking at the budget. That's the impression I'm having here. Just to score political, you should have analyzed the good aspect of the budget and then the low points, and then come up with a conclusion with a superior position. So I think this is not an informed comment. Maybe next time they need to do more diligent work so that they can convince Nigerians, that they have a superior position.
All right. We'll take to Babajide. In all, looking at this budget critique, there's nothing wrong for the opposition party to come up with a good critique of the 2024 budgets. But we're just questioning this one now because we've not gotten the breakdown.
The breakdown
for the sectors.
Yes, that
and
is
how they intend to finance the budget.
That is even when you will discover the padding. You can't discover padding based on estimates that you see. It is when you look at the totality of the budget, you look at the subheads and all that. That is when where you see how much did they vote to buy generators this year, and you then ask the question: did they not vote also amount for generator
last year?
Last year,
what happened to it?
That was how we discovered that even for our embassies abroad, that there was a time that they allocated money for generators for the embassies and all that. So, and some of the duplicated items, it is when you see the breakdown that you will discover such duplications and all that, But at this stage, it's difficult for you to be talking about budget padding because you do not have the details. You don't have the details. And the budget is a very voluminous document. It's not something that you can rush, like as if you are reading a James Hadley Chase novel. It's not that easy. To take a while to be able to dissect everything and come up with concrete criticisms. But we are talking about budget padding. Where is the evidence? They can't go forward to say, okay, this is the evidence of budget padding because you don't have the details yet. You just wanted to comment, maybe because you had some people talking about some of the positives about the budget. The budget is a very ambitious budget. I think that some of the when you read the president's speech, some of what he said will look like something really over-ambitious. But at the same time, you cannot quarrel with someone setting the bar for himself, setting an ambitious target for himself. He has to push himself harder and harder to get to that destination. And if we say, at this time, we are producing on the average between 1.3 to 1.450 million barrels a day, and they are projecting 1.7 million barrels. It's because they think that the progress that we are making in fighting oil thieves and all that, in stimulating greater production, will continue. And if it continues, of course, we can get there. So I can't even blame them too much for setting such target for themselves because it will push you. It's like you are the FIRS man and the president says this year you must generate 18 billion or 18 trillion. You know that they've already raised the bar so high for you. That will push you to try to get to that target. And it is possible.
Wally, your final notes on this?
Well, the budget will make meaning to Nigerians, how it affects us individually. And I don't think that is what will happen today. In the next few months, we are going to see how effective this budget is. But I think some interesting aspect is the conscious decision to work with the private sector, asking each MDA to go and work with investors from all over the world. And I think that's a very good and impressive thing. But as time goes on, only the fullness of time will let us know how good this budget is in terms of how it translates to food on the table of every Nigerian.
And the implementation.
And the implementation and the monitoring.